So for this video, I'm going to do topics 6 and 7 together. Topic 6 is just really short, so I'm going to merge it with topic 7. So topic 6 is all about reciprocals, which is a part of topic 7, so it's worth mentioning. So it says two numbers are said to be reciprocals of each other if their product is 1. To find the reciprocal of a number, write the number in fraction form and then invert the fraction. Okay, and this is a big part of topic 7, which is dividing fractions. So basically, example 10 just says find the reciprocal of each number. So if a number is already written in fraction form, the reciprocal is just that fraction flipped upside down. So the reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. And if we go by the definition, two numbers are said to be reciprocals if their product is 1. So if I take 2/3 and I multiply it by 3/2, I just get 6/6, which is 1. So we can verify that 2/3 and 3/2 are indeed reciprocals of each other. Now, for 1/4, when I flip the fraction over, I get 4/1. So we would generally just say the reciprocal here is 4. You could leave it as 4/1 or just leave it as 4. It doesn't really matter. Now, for part C, we have just the number 7. So the directions say write the number in fraction form and then invert the fraction. 7 is not written in fraction form, but we could easily convert that into a fraction by just saying it's 7/1. And then you can invert the fraction. So we would move and say that this is 1/7. So make sure you know how to find a reciprocal because it is a pivotal part of dividing fractions, okay? So moving on to topic 7, dividing fractions. Turns out we don't know how to divide fractions, but we sure definitely know how to multiply fractions. We just learned that in the previous video. So what we can do is we can convert division of fractions into multiplication. It's really pretty simple. So to convert division to multiplication, you keep the first fraction the same, and then you multiply by the reciprocal of the second number, okay? So that's why we have to learn topic 6, which is reciprocals. So you keep the first fraction the same, and then multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So symbolically, if I have A over B divided by C over D, that would equal A over B times D over C, or AD over BC, assuming A, D, and C are not 0, because remember, if a denominator is 0, the whole fraction becomes undefined, and then that's a problem, okay? So to actually do the division, you multiply across and simplify. And I did say here it can be easier to cancel common factors top to bottom before multiplying across. We practiced that in the last video, so that's going to be true here as well. So let's go ahead and look at example 7. Example 7 says find each quotient, and answers need to be written in lowest terms. So the first thing I want to do is I want to convert this to multiplication. Don't start canceling stuff until this is a product, not a quotient. Okay, so to write this as multiplication, I keep the first fraction the same, and then I multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So I'm going to multiply by 40/27. So that then gives me 3 times 40/25 times 27. Now, we need to look for common factors, and the more you practice this, the easier it'll be to see common factors or factors that you can cancel top to bottom. In the meantime, let's just kind of start breaking things down. So I'm going to keep the 3 of 3 since it's prime, but for the 40, I want to write it as 5 times 8. So I'm going to find a factorization of 40. 5 times 8 is going to work beautifully here. Now 25, I'm going to write it as 5 times 5. And then for 27, I think I'm going to write it as 3 times 9. Now, you could technically just find the prime factorization of all of the factors in the numerator and denominator and then cancel, but a lot of times we can just write any factorization or a very specific factorization where larger factors will cancel out, okay? Now, looking at this version that I have here, I notice I have a 3 in the numerator and denominator. 3 divided by 3 just leaves a 1 behind. I also notice that I have a 5 in the top and the bottom. So 5 divided by 5, they just leave little 1s behind. So now I need to look at all of the factors that I have left. I have a 5 and a 9 in the denominator. I have an 8 in the numerator. Make sure they have no common factors. Factors of 8 would be 2s and 4s. Factors of 9 would be 3. So there's no common factors top to bottom. So the final answer is just going to be 1 times 8 for the numerator. For the denominator, it's going to be 1 times 5 times 1 times 9, or 45. And that's it. So multiplying and dividing fractions, not terrible. Definitely work on simplifying as you go, because if you were to convert this and write it as multiplication, you would get 120 over 675, and that would be really hard to reduce. So it is definitely easier to try to simplify and cancel out those common factors as you go before you multiply and get your final product. Okay? Now, just like with multiplication, to divide mixed numbers, notice example B here, or example 11 part B, we have division of mixed numbers. To divide mixed numbers, you must convert to improper fractions. It's non-negotiable. You have to do this, okay? So remember, what we do is we take the denominator times the whole number, so 7 times 3, add the numerator, keep the denominator. So again, we take the denominator, multiply it by the whole number, add the numerator, and then keep the denominator. All right, we're going to simplify those. So 7 times 3 is 21. 21 plus 2 is 23, so we get 23 sevenths. And then 14 times 2 is 28. 28 plus 3 is 31. So we have 31 14ths. All right, and now we have to convert this to multiplication. So remember, to convert to multiplication, the first fraction stays the same, and then we multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction. So we just flip the second fraction upside down and then multiply. We want to look for common factors. 23 happens to be prime, but 14 I could write as 2 times 7. So I'm going to break it down as 2 times 7. 7 is prime, 31 is prime, so that's as good as it's going to get. And I do notice that I have one factor that'll cancel. That's 7. So 7 divided by 7 just leaves a little 1 behind. So for the numerator, let's see, I get 23 times 2 times 1. So I get 46. For the denominator, I just get 1 times 31, or 31. And then just like in the previous video where we talked about multiplication with mixed numbers, if you start with mixed numbers, it is very common to end with a mixed number. So while 46 over 31 is perfectly fine, we would write this as a mixed number generally. So I would take 46 and divide it by 31. 31 will go into 46 only one time. 1 times 31 is 31, so we subtract that. We get a remainder of 15. So we would say 46 over 31 is the same as 1 and 15 over 31. And that would be the final answer. So make sure you know how to multiply and divide. They're ultimately the same process. You just have to remember to convert your division to multiplication first. Okay?